In the following year, after the huge success with Macross, Studio New and Big West decided to create a spiritual successor under the name Super Dimension Century Orguss. Now, this series is quite similar to its predecessor, but is it as good? Well, let's find out. The year is 2065 AD. The world is at war with two unknown powers clashing over a massive space elevator. During a desperate attack to plant a dangerous space-time oscillation bomb to blow up the elevator, the brash pilot Kei Katsuragi, along with his wingman Osen D. Verne, are caught in the explosion of the bomb after Kei arms the bomb prematurely and are sent into a damaged future where timelines seem to merge into one. Kei himself was found unconscious by a group of merchants that mostly consist of Ermin, a human-like race that have tentacles protruding from their hair. Soon after, however, they find themselves pursued by a military power known as the Chiram, as well as the Ermin's own people, as both sides have found an interest in Kei, calling him the ideal syncretic point. With his fighter jet repaired by the Ermin merchants and rechristened as the Mighty Orguss, Kei tries to protect the crew that saves him, while figuring out how the world came to be, and also finding out how to restore it to its normal state. To start off, Orguss was the second in what is now known as the Super Dimension trilogy, with the other two shows being Macross and Southern Cross. As such, it is seen as the black sheep of the three, and perhaps be falling into obscurity, while Macross and Southern Cross are more well known, largely thanks to Robotech. However, after going over Orguss, I can honestly say that it is very underrated. There are a lot of things in Orguss story-wise that I found quite fascinating and original. Sure, the idea of parallel worlds in movies and shows are very cliché. However, Orguss separates itself from the rest thanks to its idea of combining these parallel worlds into one world of its own. The setting is probably one of the things that fascinate me the most about Orguss. Here we have a world that was shattered and damaged thanks to a powerful experimental weapon, and as such the world is varied, full of interesting characters and bizarre life, different cultures, and overall it's just so damn interesting. As for the story itself, well, it's definitely more complicated than most other mech shows I've seen, and you probably won't be able to understand it right away, but they do a good job answering a lot of the questions as the series goes on, and you could in a way grow to appreciate or like this kind of story. The anime does suffer a bit from pacing issues, particularly at the beginning, but for the most part I find the pacing to be quite good. It doesn't feel too draggy, nor does it feel too fast. Now I do have one nitpick about this series, and it mostly has to do with the beginning of each episode where they constantly recap the events at the beginning of the series over and over again for the majority of the episodes. I understand it's kind of a weird thing to comment about, but was it really necessary to constantly dump that information on your lap at the beginning of the episodes like we haven't known it before? I understand you're trying to recap for people who don't really know what's going on in the show, but do you really have to do it like virtually almost every single time? I know it's a nitpick, but still, it kind of irritated me a bit. As for the characters, I did grow to tolerate and like most of them. Kei Katsuragi is a drastic change of pace compared to his predecessor Hikaru Ichijo. Unlike Hikaru, who was young, confused, and rather angsty when it comes to certain situations, Kei is already an adult, a rather skilled pilot, and is portrayed as a happy-go-lucky, laid-back kind of character who is also a bona fide ladies' man. I mean, my god, in the majority of the episodes he tends to flirt with a lot of women, especially with Mimsy, who I'll get to in a bit. While at first Kei may be hard-headed in his decisions and a little selfish when it comes to his motives, he does eventually try to become a much more mature individual, and we do see that he actually does care about the people on board the merchant ship, especially Mimsy, and we definitely see Kei struggle with either wanting to be with Mimsy or return the Earth to its normal state. However, my biggest gripe with him is his character development. And the reason why I say that is because I feel that throughout the series, Kei's character development just takes a rocky slope. I mean, in one episode, he tries to wisen up and tries to be a team leader and tries to, be a mature adult, but by the next episode, he's back to causing trouble for everybody. Granted, by the final episodes of the series, I did end up liking K. However, I feel that he never really reached his full potential, which is a shame considering that he's our main character. Olsen is definitely a badass, and I gotta say, he is definitely becoming one of my favorite mentor figures in mecha anime. He is also probably the first mentor type character to feature the whole sunglasses wearing badass gimmick where you would later see with Quattro from Zeta Gundam and Kamina from Gurren Lagann. Mimsy may be a teenager, but she's surprisingly very mature for her age, not to mention intelligent since she's able to conduct some pretty clever combat strategies throughout the series as opposed to Shia. I mean, good lord. Shia may be a great merchant, but holy crap is she a terrible combat strategist as opposed to Mimsy, who somehow has more military experience being able to order her squad mates around. Now, Mimsy only seems to get emotional whenever she's around Kay or her fiance Slay, and I'll get into this in a bit, don't worry, because I have a lot to say about this particular love triangle that's going on here. But for a female lead, I thought Mimsy did alright. Mome may be very irritating and annoying, coming off as what you expect in a Moe character, but she does have an important role in the series and does become either relatable or likable. Athena may be a pure Cheerum soldier on the outside, but on the inside you can definitely tell that she's an emotional wreck considering her tragic past and considering her actual relationship with Kay, which I'm not going to spoil. Other characters such as the Ermin sisters, Jabby, and Commander the Robot, I'm not even joking, that's what he's called, also serves as contributors to the overall story progression. As for the Cheerums and the Ermin army, well, it's almost kind of like Mosu Gundam where both sides are shades of gray and both will go to extreme lengths into achieving their cause. But instead of doing this for freedom, they do it to try and capture Kay. The Cheerums may be portrayed as antagonists in most of Orguss. They do have a sense of honor, and their reasonings for going to the extreme lengths they do kinda does make sense since all they're trying to do is restore their own world. The Ermins, while they seem to be passive at first, will too go to terrible lengths to try and restore their world. However, there is one faction that is depicted very badly. I am of course talking about the Mu. While we did get to know more about them in one episode in the second half of the series, they are more or less one-dimensional with their goals having no rhyme or reasoning. Just destroy all life forms. Now, talking about the themes of Orguss, it's very similar to Macross, in which Orguss deals with the themes of love and understanding one another, as well as dealing with the most disastrous of situations, but in its own different way. However, they also try to emulate some aspects of Macross, that being the love triangles. And there's actually two in Orguss that I'm aware of. The first love triangle being Kay, Slay, and Mimsy, and later on, Kay, Mimsy, and Mome. And both love triangles just do not work. They just did not work well as love triangles in Macross, because for one thing, the love triangle between Kay, Slay, and Mimsy is more or less a toned-down version of Hikaru, Kaifun, and Minmay, and the love triangle between Kay, Mimsy, and Mome is just so stupid considering Mome is, oh, I don't know, a frickin' robot? To conclude this part of the review, the story of Orguss is confusing at first, yet quite intriguing. And while most of the characters are explored pretty well throughout the series, it leads to my biggest problem with the anime, the ending, which is ambiguous and very disappointing in my honest opinion. In terms of visuals, seeing as how this came after Macross, it only makes sense that the two shows would look similar. It's pretty much on par with Macross, though in some cases I think it's a bit better, being more polished and consistent. Yeah, there are some stock footage and some of the characters do look similar to their Macross counterparts, though I would say it's at least appealing. The battles, while not as intensive and as explosive as Macross, are at least still fast-paced and fun to watch. And as for the mech designs, well, for the most part, I find them unappealing and not memorable, with the exception of the Orguss itself, probably. In contrast to the romantic-sounding tunes in Macross, Orguss features a much more calming and light-hearted soundtrack that I happen to like. I love the opening and ending themes in particular by the late great Casey Rankin. The opening, Sky Hurricane, is a wonderfully made theme that suits the light-hearted nature of the series, while the ending theme, Gypsy Heart, is much more serious in tone. All in all, it may not be as epic as Macross, but I still say the soundtrack in Orguss is pretty good. Surprisingly enough, there was a dub produced for Orguss, though it was short-lived, but it did have some notable names voicing the characters, particularly Steve Blum voicing Jabby. As for the Seiyu cast, Kei is voiced by none other than Sho Hayami, who previously voiced Max from Macross. Momo is voiced by Sanai Miyuki, who didn't do a lot of notable roles, but she did voice Botan from Yu Yu Hakusho. Makoto Katsuki voices Athena, and she will later on voice Rakuo Lone from Zeta Gundam, as well as Sailor Neptune from Sailor Moon. Then of course we have the late great Hirotaka Suzuki voicing Olsen, who also voiced Bright Noah from Gundam, Tenchi Han from DBZ, Saito from Rurouni Kenshin, and Kuno Tatwaki from Ranma 1/2. So with a pretty great cast, you can't go wrong. Despite some problems, Orguss is an underappreciated series that I consider to be really good. However, it does have issues that drag it down a bit. The ending is disappointing, the themes that it tries to emulate from Macross aren't portrayed as well as the former, and there are minor annoyances regarding some character motives. But all in all, it's a great mecha anime that is pretty easy to get into since it has no relation to Macross. But really, considering its obscurity, this is more for dedicated mecha anime viewers than your casual anime viewer. Though for a mecha enthusiast like me, it was definitely worth it. Final score, 8 out of 10.